on Interstate 8 going to San Diego. To bypass the checkpoint, they would drive with their lights off on the wrong side of the freeway at night. And if they came across a car, the car would swerve into a ditch and kill people, which would happen all the time. No problem. They kept going. That's immoral. I don't care how you look at it. When you live your life on a lie, the other thing people would do is they would, if an illegal would accidentally hit somebody, because they don't drive well necessarily, they don't have driver's license, they didn't train, they'd run into somebody, but they, instead of it rendering aid, they'd run off because they didn't want to get picked up by the INS.
Right.
That's what you face when you have a whole bunch of illegal people in this country.
Oh.
And God loves Joe Biden saying, they're all legals now. He should have some in his house. Take some.
He should.
It's not. Trump's point about the MS-13 being animals, I agree with.
Oh, there's no doubt.
It's not that all Mexicans are animals or all Colombians are animals, but there are a lot of bad guys, and he wouldn't take them into his house, and I don't want them in my backyard.
I don't
want
either.
that level of crime being brought in.
All right, Dr. Lee Heeb has been our guest. Thank you, Lee.
Hey, see ya.
All right.
Bye.
This is AM 1400 KVFD.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. In a special election on Tuesday, the city of Lehigh elected former Mayor Paula Martin to the position of mayor in the Webster County town. Martin earned the most votes with 24 in an election with only write-in candidates. Former Mayor Phil Richardson resigned on January 1st, and Martin will serve the remainder of the term that expires in 2021. May is Mental Health Month, and One Fort Dodge man is spreading awareness of mental health in Webster County. Randy Hoover works for Freedom Point in Fort Dodge, a community support program that focuses on mental health issues. Hoover says that mental health awareness is extremely important in Webster County.
We have a lot of services, but we have way more people than we have services. And we do peer support services, which means we're right there in the front. We see these people as their lives are kind of falling apart. And we can help direct them to like Berry Hill Community Health, other therapists in town to get the help they need.
Freedom Point is passing out Mental Health Month ribbons all May. You can find them at LifeWorks at 13018 8th Street in Fort Dodge. Ribbons can also be found at the Berry Hill Center and Community Health in Fort Dodge. Governor Kim Reynolds isn't giving any indication on what she will do with several high-profile bills that passed the recent legislative session. She does say there's been a lot of input on whether to sign or veto the sports gambling bill.
I'm hearing on both sides. I've had a lot of people reach out.
The bill approved by lawmakers would let the state's casinos take bets on professional and college sports, either at the casinos or elsewhere via smartphone app. Reynolds says many people don't want to see or sign the bill into law.
They're concerned about, addiction to gambling and that the impact that this may have.
Others say the state needs to take control.
I've had a lot of other people that have indicated it is happening. It is going to continue to happen. And they think it's very important that we have some kind of oversight.
Reynolds says both sides have made their feelings known.
It's pretty equal right now, but I'm hearing a lot from both.
The governor says she is treating the gambling bill like all the others and will go over it with her team and make a decision on whether to sign it into law. A special driving tour route through the Union Slough National Wildlife Refuge in northern Iowa will open this Saturday and end at sundown on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 12th. Ed Meanderian, the refuge manager, says the tour route will open from sunrise to sunset.
Recommend people bring a pair of binoculars or maybe a bird book. We have had a couple of sandhill cranes on the refuge here for about 2 weeks. A little bit unusual. Haven't confirmed that they're nesting, but we hope that they will on the refuge at some point in time.
Meanderian says water levels are pretty high at the refuge due to the wet weather this spring and past winter. That means animal life rather than vegetation is the main draw.
We've been doing some prescribed burning. There's some areas that are starting to green up from that. Not a lot of other stuff coming up at this time, but people should see deer, pheasants, ducks, geese, trumpeter swan along the tour route.
The drive-in tour route is only open a couple of weeks each year. It starts at the refuge headquarters and takes visitors by wetlands, open water, and prairie habitat. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. May corn up 6 3/4 at $3.60. July up 6 at $3.68.5. September up 5 3/4 at $3.76 1/4. December up 5 1/4 at $3.86 1/4. May soybeans down 1 3/4 at $8.39.5. July down 2 1/4 at $8.51 3/4. August down 2 at $8.58. November down 1 3/4 at $8.73. May wheat closed up up 6.5 at $4.25. Soybean meal unchanged at $2.96. June live cattle down 37 cents at $113.87. August down 80 at $110.97. May feeder cattle down 22 at $141.37. August up 7 at $149.22. May lean hogs closed up 280 at 87.10. June limit up to close at 91.22. I am Dwayne Murley.
Managing Phytophthora during a wet spring. Hello, everyone. I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield. A Growmark FS agronomist says saturated soil, coupled with increasing soil temperatures, is the perfect recipe for stem rotting diseases like Phytophthora. In this Managing for Profit, Samantha Schmidgall reminds farmers how to manage for the disease and what can happen if you don't. We'll find out more on Brownfield after this.
Did you know 22 Americans die each day waiting for organ transplants, most of them for kidneys? The good news is that MatchingDonors.com is helping to change that. MatchingDonors.com is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that links organ donors with people in desperate need of kidneys and other transplants. And now you don't need to donate a kidney to save a life. You can donate your boat, car, or real estate, with 100% of the proceeds going to help save the lives of people needing organ transplants. Visit MatchingDonors.com or call 800-385-0422.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the U.S., 19 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you have someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com. Home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. MatchingDonors.com.
Growmark FS agronomist Samantha Schmidgall says she sees a lot of diseases, especially in soybeans, that are associated with cool, wet soil conditions, like many areas of the Midwest are seeing this spring. Phytophthora being the most common where she is located in east central Illinois.
So the biggest thing, especially when you're looking at Phytophthora root and stem rot, is selecting a variety that has not only a gene to help with the resistance of Phytophthora, but also a good field tolerance as well. When we use a gene in Phytophthora management, we really need to focus on what the quantitative or field resistance is of that soybean as well, because genes can react in different ways and give us different results without that field tolerance.
She says it's also important to use the correct fungicide seed treatment to match the disease that you have as your greatest concern.
So just because you're putting a fungicide or a fungicide insecticide on your soybeans doesn't necessarily mean that you're attacking the diseases that you're focusing on. So make sure that the fungicide that you're using is truly targeting Phytophthora.
Schmidgall encourages a multi-level management approach.
In a cool, wet environment, we want to focus on those dried soils that have ideal planting conditions first. They're going to set us up most favorably for lack of disease development. Disease typically occurs in those heavy, poorly drained soils or your compacted areas. So starting in fields that don't have those issues is a really good way to kind of put your best foot forward when looking at soybean yield.
If not managed properly, she says Phytophthora can impact soybeans in any growth stage.
So we can see disease in seedlings. We can see disease shortly after germination. That's usually when we see the biggest effect, typically referred to as dampening off, as well as later in the season, we can actually find completely dead plants out in the field. The biggest impact on the crop is actually that late season development of the disease, because we don't have the opportunity to increase our population at that point or increase our yield potential.
She says fields with a history of the disease are at a high risk.
It will continue to thrive in areas that are poorly drained, compacted, low spots throughout the field, anywhere where soil is going to stay cool and wet and be slower to warm up really creates a good environment for Phytophthora to thrive.
That was Samantha Schmidgall with Growmark FS in Illinois. I'm Rhiannon Branch with Managing for Profit on Brownfield.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 437. We'll talk with Father Patrick Boehm in just a couple of minutes. Let's do the weather here real quickly. 49 degrees, overcast right now. We may get to 52 degrees for a high today, but I doubt it. Overnight, a little rain with a low of 43. Tomorrow, cloudy, then sunny later on with a high of 61. On Friday, sunny with a high of 64. Saturday, sunny with a high of 71. Sunday, maybe a little rain, otherwise sunny with a high of 67. On Monday, chance of rain, otherwise sunny with a high of 71. And Tuesday, again, a chance of rain, mostly cloudy with a high of 63. Right now, 49 degrees at AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South, Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. Karen Good of Otho has passed away at the age of 69. She died on Sunday at the Fort Dodge Villa Care. There will be a celebration of her life, and that'll be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon Thursday here in town. Janice Allred has died. Janice Allred has passed away. Services for Janice Allred will be tomorrow at Tompkins Celebration Center here in town. Visitation from 10 to 11 Thursday at Tompkins Celebration Center. Obituaries this hour brought to you by the historic Bruce's Funeral Home at 923 First Avenue South in Fort Dodge. You may contact the historic Bruce's Funeral Home by calling 515-576-5117 or online at www.brucesfuneralhome.com. This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 439.
From the Fox Business Network, stocks ending in the red after the Fed left interest rates unchanged. However, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said in a news conference that low inflation may only be transitory, and that comment may have dashed hopes that the Fed would be lowering rates in the future, with the Dow falling 164 points, the Nasdaq down 46, S&P 500 down 22. And chipmaker Qualcomm tanking after hours after forecasting current quarter revenue largely below Wall Street targets, excluding a settlement payment from Apple. The gloomy forecast comes a day after Apple said its sales in China, the world's largest smartphones market, were stabilizing, helped by price cuts and lower taxes. And shares of Square dropping after the digital payment company beat estimates on its first quarter financials, but missed on payment volume and its second quarter outlook. And wearable device maker Fitbit reporting better than expected first quarter results, benefiting from higher sales of its smartwatches and wearable devices that track daily activities. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Heather Rebarski.
Hiring? Aren't you tired of hoping the right candidates see your job posts? It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology finds and invites qualified candidates to apply. So instead of hoping you find that needle, ZipRecruiter finds it for you. And hiring is a whole lot easier.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter now for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Well, if you can't handle the truth, you're in a bad way. Because we got some country music here, and country music, as you know, is the truth. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen. Actually, we're going to talk with Father Patrick Boehm, who is leaving us, for crying out loud. So I would first like to ask you if you think that country music is the truth.
Well, I don't know if it's the truth or not. I mean,
I
do know. No, Jesus Christ is the truth. I would say
Christ
that.
is the truth. Okay.
But
But country music would have to be number 2.
I like country music. I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy country. There's a lot of country artists that I enjoy listening to their music. I like the more contemporary country personally.
Well, that was Vince Gill. That was Vince Gill we were rocking out with a little bit. You don't like my old twangers, George Jones, Merle Haggard, Loretta Lynn.
I'm sort of more of a like a Trace Adkins, Luke Bryant, Jason Aldean fan, but I do like a lot of those guys.
Well, a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I would love to go to Nashville sometime, just taking a concert or two. I've never actually been to a real concert, like a major one.
Oh, haven't you?
No, it's just I've never done that. But maybe someday.
Julie and I went down to Wells Fargo in Des Moines to see Garth Brooks a couple years ago.
Okay,
that was
sure.
He did a terrific show.
Sure.
And there's a major country artist who cruises through here every now and then, goes to
at
Wells Fargo or wherever. But what's this you're leaving business? See, I will never understand why the Catholic Church does that, or why the young priests such as yourself say, no, I'm not going. I'm just not going to go. I kind of like where I'm at. I don't see any reason to keep moving around, because you've been here how long?
3 years.
3 years. So then you're leaving and you go down to what, Carroll? Is that
down
it?
to Carroll? Yes.
What a hellhole! What are you going to Carroll for God's sake?
Well,
what did you do? Was there something? Have you done something wrong? Is this a
no,
punishment? Or?
No. When the bishop assigned me here, I was assigned here for 3 years.
Okay.
And so the way it works is, when I was ordained as a priest, I promised respect and obedience to my bishop and to his successors.
See, Father Loney said that too.
Yep. And so when the bishop says, I need you to go here, then I need to go there. And
could you just raise your hand and say, Bishop, why?
You could. You could. But I kind of decided early on in my, basically from day one as a priest, that I would never question an assignment. I just don't think that it's healthy for a priest to say to the bishop, no, I'm not going to go. Now, that's a different thing from saying, I'm not going to give any input. Now, if I was asked, and I would offer input to say, well, I think this is a good fit. I think this is not. Here's why, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in this case, I'm still young enough that I think it's probably a good thing to get new experiences for both myself and the guy whom I am essentially trading places with. He's coming here and I'm going there, Father Brian Feller.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, that makes no sense at all.
Well, I think the rationale is that we're both young priests.
Yeah.
And the bishop wants both of us to get some different experiences in different parish settings and under different pastors, to learn different ways, and in anticipation of one day becoming pastors of our own parishes, and on our own. And so Father Feller has been in that assignment for 4 years. He's been there basically since he was ordained, save for I think 6 or 7 weeks that he spent filling in at the Cathedral of the Epiphany when he was first ordained. But this has really been his only assignment. And so it's good for him to get some new experiences, to see a different place of the diocese. It's good for me to get those same new experiences. And it's also good for the people, because the people can get very used to one person.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm sure there are people that I reached with the gospel here, and I'm sure there are people that I impacted, but I'm also sure there are people that I probably rubbed the wrong way, or that just my message didn't resonate with them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Hopefully Father Feller's message will resonate with them, that they'll find something that that is attractive in him, in his ministry, in his work for the Lord. And so the good news that I always tell people, the thing about it is twofold. One, in my life as a diocesan priest, the will of the bishop is the will of God. And so
you think that?
Absolutely. 100%, because that's the promise that I made, that I promised obedience to him. And so when the bishop asked me,
one thing to promise obedience and take a vow.
Sure.
But to have the bishop's word be the word of God.
Well, I didn't say the word of God. I said the will of God.
All right.
And so, in other words, the will of God is accurately communicated through the mouth of the bishop. Now, the bishop may have completely misinterpreted that. Maybe he didn't pray enough. I don't know. I mean, maybe he just, and I'm not saying that's the case. I'm throwing out this hypothetical there. Maybe it's actually not God's will that I go to Carroll.
Right.
But nevertheless, for me in my life, subjectively, it is God's will that I go to Carroll, because it has been communicated through the mouth of my bishop, to whom I promised respect and obedience. And so there's a real freedom in that. There's a beautiful freedom in that, when the bishop says, I need you to do this, I can say, okay, all well and good. And so I'm grateful for that, But the thing that I want to tell the people, that I want to convey to them, is that it's not about the priest. It's not about me or about Father Feller or about, you mentioned Father Lona or Monsignor or anybody else. It's about the person of Jesus Christ whom we serve. And the sacraments that I offer, the Eucharist, confession, the anointing of the sick, baptism, whatever else.
Right.
It's the same sacrament that Father Feller offers. The only difference is the vessel through whom Christ is communicated. And so he has strengths and weaknesses that I don't have. I have strengths and weaknesses that he doesn't have. And together we all work for the building up of the kingdom of God.
Okay. Well, there must be some sort of overriding management philosophy within the Catholic Church. As long as I can remember, the church has been doing this, moving priests every 3 years or so.
Well, new guys, yeah. So for associates, parochial vicars, it's typically a 3-year assignment. Like I said, Father Feller had been in Carroll for 4 years, which is kind of extended. I mean, my first assignment was 3 years. My second one was only 1 year because some things changed and the bishop had to change what he was doing, which is fine. I mean, that's what we sign up for. And so I fully anticipated this, but I just wasn't sure. You never know for sure until you get that letter that says, here's your new assignment. But you're right. The church has been doing this, and really it's for the well-being of the people. It's for the well-being of the priest, that nobody gets stuck
How is that for the well-being? I mean, if a priest wanted to transfer, I'm sure he could make his wishes known.
Sure.
And be transferred. I mean,
sure. Well, and I think, so you didn't quite finish that question. How's that for the well-being of the people or the priest or both?
Well, for both, really. I mean, the people get attached to a priest.
Sure.
And they kind of depend on the priest as a spiritual advisor to be there in good times and bad, and officiate funerals and weddings and all those things. And all of a sudden they're gone.
That's right. And you do. I mean, you do develop those ties with people. One of the real joys of my life is that I'm with people in their highest of highs, when they're baptizing a new baby, when they're when they are getting married, in their lowest of lows, when a loved one was killed in a car accident, whatever it may be.
All those things.
Right. You're there through all of that, and you do. I mean, it's very human to develop those connections. And so, yeah, it can be very painful, but we have to remember that, I am not God, right? I'm not Jesus. I am another Christ, right? An alter Christus, as we would say, because I'm ordained into the person of Jesus Christ, and I'm his servant, but I'm not him. And so it's always good for me to stay grounded, that for every person out there to whom I have ministered, that has been impacted meaningfully by my ministry, there's another one that hasn't been. For every person who, pats me on the back and says, "Oh, Father, I really liked your homily this week." Well, there's somebody else in that church that hated it, right? And it didn't get anything from it. And so it's important for me to stay grounded, to stay humble, and to remember, again, I come back to that point that I just made, that there are gifts and talents that I don't have, that Father Feller does have, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And in the bishop's discernment, and it's not just him. I mean, there's a group of priests that advise him in this. There's 5 or 6 priests that are on what we call the personnel board, that meet and discuss, okay, who would fit well where? And they talk about different guys, their different strengths and weaknesses, what a particular place needs at this moment in time. And in the bishop's discernment, and under the advice of the personnel board, he has discerned that my gifts and talents can best be utilized in Carroll County at this time, and that Father Brian Feller's can best be utilized here. And I trust that is a prayerful decision. And at the end of the day, Father Feller and I both made that same promise of respect and obedience to the bishop.
Because really, it's like 50 miles. I mean, right? I mean, Carroll from here.
Yeah, it's not far. I mean, it's not far.
I don't know what Carroll could offer you or Fort Dodge could offer Father Fellers. That I just don't get that part, I guess. I don't
know. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not like you're moving to another culture.
No,
another
heavens
state
no.
or something.
But I mean, I will say this. Carroll is at a different place in their implementation of this Ministry 2025 program that we're implementing here, in kind of the merging and consolidation of parishes. They are a few years behind where Holy Trinity in Webster County is at. And so it'll be good to see that process from kind of the beginning stages. Father Feller has seen it through the beginning, and I guess more accurately, I get to see it in the middle stages. Father Feller saw it in the beginning. Now he can come up here where I've seen it kind of in its end stage, and he can see it in its end stage as we open a new church, hopefully, God willing, at some point. But nevertheless, I mean,
it's supposed to be done next year, isn't it?
It's supposed to be, yeah. We aren't 100% sure, but we've got some idea.
I guess I haven't been by there lately. I don't know where
they're making good progress, really good headway. But nevertheless, I mean, to bring this back, that wasn't me trying to smoothly change subjects, but you're right. I mean, it's not like I'm going to a foreign country or something like that. But I think there are always good things to learn in a new place. And I can tell you honestly, having served in 3 different parishes now, in 3 different areas as a priest, every place is different. Every pastor is different. Every set of people are different. And so to learn to be able, because presumably I have another 30 plus years of doing this, to be able to serve faithfully the people of all of the Diocese of Sioux City, it's important to get those other feller, who is a wonderful friend of mine. I've known him for a long time. He and I actually share the same birthday. We found that out when we were studying Spanish together in Mexico. And one of us, I don't remember which, commented like, "Oh, tomorrow's my birthday. I'm going to go get a drink. You want to come?" And the other one said, "Tomorrow's my birthday." And we'd known each other for a few years, but we had no idea that we shared the same birthday. So that was kind of fun. But
is he from Western Iowa as well?
He is. He's from Sibley.
Yeah, I know where Sibley is.
Yep, grew up in Sibley.
Will you spend your career in the Diocese of Sioux City?
Yes.
Is that by design, or is that by your request? Or?
A little of both. I mean, typically, when a man studies to be a diocesan priest, you study for the diocese where you are from. I mean, on rare occasions, you might go to a diocese where you're not from. I mean, it does happen. I would say the biggest reason of why that happens is a man leaves for college and winds up staying there. So, for instance, like I was in seminary with some guys that are now priests of the Archdiocese of Denver, who went to, could have been Colorado State University or the University of Colorado or wherever it may be, developed their life of faith at college and decided just to stay there. But generally,
at the university as priests, you mean?
Well, to stay and serve as priests of the Archdiocese of Denver.
Okay.
So one guy, for instance, was originally from Illinois.
Okay.
And he went to college out in Colorado and decided to stay. For me, I grew up in Storm Lake, which is right smack dab in the middle of the Diocese of Sioux City.
Oh, yeah.
And so there was never any question in my mind that I would study for the Diocese of Sioux City. And so I'm incardinated there, which means essentially that I am under the authority of the bishop and his successors. So in this right now, it's Bishop Nicholas. And so Bishop R. Walker Nicholas, he's certainly not a dictator. He's a very fair, very honorable man. And whom I love very much and have a great deal of care for whom I have a great deal of care. I love him, like my own father. And he sees the needs of the whole, I guess, is probably the way to say it. And so you asked, will I always serve in the Diocese of Sioux City? More than likely. But every bishop always has the discretion of saying, you know what? We need somebody to go serve as a military chaplain. We need somebody to go to Nicaragua and serve in the missions. We need somebody to go and earn a doctorate in this field of theology because we have a particular need for that in our diocese. Any number of different things. But I would say 98% of the time, yes, I'll serve in the Diocese of Sioux City for the rest of my life.
Monsignor McCoy has been here quite a while.
He has been. I don't know exactly how many years, 11 or 12. Excuse me.
When you, assuming at some point you become
A pastor, yes.
A pastor.
Yep.
And you're a Monsignor.
Well, I hope I'm never a Monsignor, but yes, you become a pastor, yes.
What's the difference?
Well, a Monsignor is just a title. It's an honorary title given by the Pope, usually for having done something important. In Monsignor McCoy's case, it was because he was the rector of the Pontifical North American College, which is the American seminary in Rome.
Oh.
And so Pope John Paul II made him a Monsignor.
All right.
Most pastors just continue with the title Father, but they are given a certain more level, more amount, I guess you might say, of authority in their own parish.
So once you become a pastor,
yes,
will that mean that you will stay at a church in a town for years like Monsignor McCoy has?
Most likely, but not always. I mean, for instance, as we are going through a lot of changes in our diocese, with this, it's called Ministry 2025. I think we have 16 priests in across the diocese moving this year. That's the number that's stuck in my head, that 16 priests are moving, some of whom are pastors, some of whom have probably only been in their parishes for a couple of years. I don't know exactly. But again, I mean, it all comes down to what the bishop and the personnel board discern and see as the needs of the whole diocese. Typically, a pastor will be assigned for a period of 6 or 7 years. In Monsignor McCoy's case, he's been here longer, but it doesn't always have to be that way. At the end of the day, I always tell people this: the bishop has the final say.
Bishop has the final say.
Bishop has the final say, and he can change it tomorrow. I mean, one of our priests could die in a car accident tonight, and the bishop could say, you know what, we got to change, and Father Patrick, you have to go here.
Well,
I
God
mean,
forbid, right?
Right. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, but it could.
One of these days we will talk more about, before you go, about the emphasis on obedience.
Sure.
And we'll talk about that.
I would love to.
But I thank you for being here. Father Patrick Boehm is our guest. Friends of St. Edmunds Ball this weekend.
Absolutely.
All
Come
right.
on up to the ball.
5 o'clock in the afternoon, KVFD Fort Dodge Island.
It's everything digital on the Kim Commando Show every Saturday from 11 to 2 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
This is a Fox News alert. He won't appear. I'm Lisa Lacera. Attorney General William Barr will not testify before the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow. A House Judiciary Committee aide tells Fox News today there were fiery exchanges between Democratic lawmakers in the Senate and Barr as he was grilled about the Mueller report.
Hawaii Democratic Senator Mazie Hirono used her allotment of time to accuse Attorney General Barr of condoning the president's alleged obstruction of justice. And that brought this rebuke from Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham.
Listen, you've slandered this man.
Yeah, what I sort of want to know is how do we get to this point?
Yeah,
I do not think that
how do
I'm
we get to the
slandering
point where
anyone.
All I can say,
Mr. Chairman, I am done. Thank you very much.
Democratic Senator Patrick Leahy called Barr's testimony at a House hearing last month concerning the Mueller report purposely misleading.
Fox's John Decker at the White House. One day after a deadly shooting at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, officials open up about the incident. Fox's Gernal Scott has more live.
Lisa, the university's chancellor says the campus is still struggling through the tragedy. The investigation continues into why Tristan Terrell opened fire on the campus Tuesday, killing 2 and injuring 4 others. Authorities did single out one of those killed, Riley Howell. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Chief Kerr Putney says Howell had a choice.
You're going to hide and shield, or you're going to take the fight to the assailant. Having no place to run and hide, he did the last.
Chief Putney says that action saved lives. Howell and the other victims are being remembered at a campus vigil getting underway this hour, Lisa.
Gernal Wall Street at the close. Stocks gave up some early gains, ending broadly lower after the chair of the Federal Reserve appeared to play down the possibility of an interest rate cut this year. The Dow fell 162, the NASDAQ off 45, the S&P off 22. This is Fox News.
All right, welcome to F-150 Radio. Call from Georgia. Chad, what's shaking in Macon?
I know the F-150 kicks butt and takes names.
Like how the high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy F-150 thrashes the competition with best-in-class towing and torque?
Mm-hmm. Not surprised. Totally saw that coming.
Chad, how do you know so much about F-150 beating the competition?
I drive the competition. Got a 10-year lease.
Kind of embarrassing, huh?
Maybe I shouldn't advertise that fact on a national talk radio show.
Good call. The Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it It is the bar.
Best-in-class claims with properly configured vehicles. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds. GVWR based on Ford segmentation.
Now get a 2019 F-150 with 0% financing for 72 months, only at your Ford dealer. Not all buyers will qualify for Ford credit financing. 0% APR financing for 72 months at $13.89 per month per thousand finance, regardless of down payment. Program number 21038 on 2019 Ford F-150. Not available on Raptor. Residency restrictions apply. Take new retail delivery from an authorized Ford dealer stock by 5/31/19. See dealer for qualifications and complete details.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. In a special election on Tuesday, the city of Lehigh elected former Mayor Paula Martin to the position of mayor in the Webster County town. Martin earned the most votes with 24 in an election with only write-in candidates. Former Mayor Phil Richardson resigned on January 1st, and Martin will serve the remainder of the term that expires in 2021. May is Mental Health Month, and one Fort Dodge man is spreading awareness of mental health in Webster County. Randy Hoover works for Freedom Point in Fort Dodge, a community support program that focuses on mental health issues. Hoover says that mental health awareness is extremely important in Webster County.
We have a lot of services, but we have way more people than we have services. And we do peer support services, which means we're right there in the front. We see these people as their lives are kind of falling apart. And we can help direct them to like Berry Hill Community Health, other therapists in town to get the help they need.
Freedom Point is passing out Mental Health Month ribbons all May. You can find them at LifeWorks at 13018 8th Street in Fort Dodge. Ribbons can also be found at the Berry Hill Center and Community Health in Fort Dodge. Governor Kim Reynolds hasn't given any indication on what she will do with several high-profile bills that passed the recent legislative session. She does say there's been a lot of input on whether to sign or veto the sports gambling bill.
I'm hearing on both sides. I've had a lot of people reach out.
The bill approved by lawmakers would let the state's casinos take bets on professional and college sports, either at the casinos or elsewhere via smartphone app. Reynolds says many people don't want to see or sign the bill into law.
They're concerned about, addiction to gambling and that the impact that this may have.
Others say the state needs to take control.
I've had a lot of other people that have indicated it is happening, it is going to continue to happen, and they think it's very important that we have some kind of oversight.
Reynolds says both sides have made their feelings known.
It's pretty equal right now, but I'm hearing a lot from both.
The governor says she is treating the gambling bill like all the others and will go over it with her team and make a decision on whether to sign into law. A special drive-in tour out through the Union Slough National Wildlife Refuge in northern Iowa will open this Saturday and end at sundown on Mother's Day, Sunday, May 12th. Ed Mundierian, the refuge manager, says the tour route will open from sunrise to sunset.
Recommend people bring a pair of binoculars or maybe a bird book. We have had a couple of sandhill cranes on the refuge here for about 2 weeks. A little bit unusual. Haven't confirmed that they're nesting, but we hope that they will on the refuge at some point in time.
Mundierian says water levels are pretty high at the refuge due to the wet weather this spring and past winter. That means animal life rather than vegetation is the main draw.
We've been doing some prescribed burning. There's some areas that are starting to green up from that. Not a lot of other stuff coming up at this time, but people should see deer, pheasants, ducks, geese, trumpeter swan along the tour route.
The drive-in tour round is only open a couple of weeks each year. It starts at the refuge headquarters and takes visitors by rail.
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios. It's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I am Dave Ramsey, your host. The phone number here is 888-825-5225. You can follow me on Twitter at Dave Ramsey, on Instagram at Dave Ramsey, and on Facebook.com/Dave Ramsey. Lots of people going social all around us. Chase is on Twitter. Can you explain to me how using only cash is beneficial? Well, I don't use only cash. I pay things over the internet all the time, and I use a debit card, obviously, for that. And I use a debit card at the gas pump and a few other places here or there. Here's the thing. Money is weird. It activates portions of the brain. Let me give you an example, okay? In the internet world, including at Ramsey Solutions, when we put something on a website, the harder it is for you to buy something, the less likely you are to buy it. You won't follow through on the transaction. It's called friction in the internet world. If you got to stand in line at a store, some people just put the thing down, walk out of the store. That's friction. The harder it is to buy something, the less you buy. That's thing one you need to remember. Now, there is such a thing as emotional friction. Now, what I mean by that is this. In your mind right now, or physically if you want to, I'm going to do it. Take your wallet out. If you have one, this is my wallet. I have a money clip I carry in my front pocket with $100 bills. So there's a $100 bill, right? Lay that $100 bill in front of you with Uncle Benjamin Franklin's eyes piercing into your soul. Okay, put beside that your debit card, right? Put your debit card beside it or your credit card beside it. Now, there's a couple things that happen. When you spend cash, it hurts. It creates emotional friction. It activates the pain centers of the brain, actually. MIT did a study with MRIs, and they were studying consumer behavior. And when the consumer spends cash, it activates the pain centers of the brain. When you make the exact same transaction with plastic, it does not activate the pain centers of the brain. You don't feel it. And so you spend more when you spend with plastic than you do with cash. Tons of studies showing this. The average purchase is 12 to 18% more that you will spend. In a fast food setting using plastic, you will spend 70% more. In a vending machine in the hotel lobby, you will spend 170% more. Double, triple the transactions when you use plastic. Yeah, I'll take chips and a Coke and a candy bar, right? But when you're actually if you had to feed that dollar in that thing, right? You actually feel that and you spend way less. So all of that is emotional friction. You need to be aware of that. The other thing that happens is this. Think about this. Here's what's interesting. You ever, when you were a kid, if you're an old guy like me, you might have traded marbles with your friend. You had a marble and you trade something. You ever trade something with someone? You give them something, they give you something. There's an exchange. You hand them something, they hand you something. See, that's what happens when you pay with cash. You hand them green presidents' faces, they give you the item. Think about what happens with plastic. You give them a piece of plastic, they give you your plastic back, and they give you the item. Isn't it subtle that there was no exchange that occurred? You didn't make a trade. You got your plastic back and the item, because you would never leave the transaction without your own credit card or your own debit card with you, right? But think about how subtle that is visually and how that activates the brain. So, all of that to say that when you spend cash, you're more aware of your spending. Here's an example. You go out to eat. When you're paying cash and you lay a $100 bill in that little black tray, Uncle Ben's coffin, you know it's his coffin because he ain't coming back. You just killed the old boy off. He's gone, right? Yep, that little black tray goes away. You don't ever see Uncle Ben again. He's gone. Benjamin Franklin is out of here. But when you send that plastic out, guess what comes back? The plastic. And you have a tendency to spend more on alcohol, more on desserts, and pick up the other person's tab at the restaurant when you are paying with plastic than when you're paying with cash. This is why McDonald's was the first one all these years ago in the fast food business to start taking plastic. When I first started this show 25 years ago, nobody took plastic at all in fast food. And they didn't take it in the grocery store either. You wrote a check or you paid cash in fast foods 25 years ago. Or you paid cash. You wrote a check or you paid cash. And because it was scary to people to think that people might actually run up debt buying groceries or run up debt buying food at a fast food place. But McDonald's changed all of that. And it wasn't long after McDonald's they did a big study on behavior. And they found that you spend 78% more. I'll supersize that. I'll put fries with that, and I'll pay for his too, and give me the apple pie when it's on plastic. When it's cash, it's like dollar menu, baby. Changes